Good evening, everyone, and happy Halloween. I just wanted to post this video to clear up some questions that I'm still getting about the PLC PowerPoint. And please excuse if you hear my doorbell ring and this video has to be in multiple videos. It's just going down to give trick-or-treaters their candy. So, wanted to speak first to when you're building this PowerPoint, please look at the success criteria for the part 1 of this PLC. So when I'm looking at the success criteria, I see think creatively, explore and investigate, solve problems and engage in the inquiry process, share their learning with others. Then it says collaboratively with your group, identify specific links between play and learning in your classrooms, especially as it pertains to problem solving, language acquisition, literacy, numeracy, social, physical, and emotional skills. And then it says individually and then jointly within the PLC, identify and explain the forms of play in their classrooms, in your classrooms, with specific examples from your personal experience in the classroom. So I had one participant ask if they could create this PowerPoint through the 4 frames. The way you want to create this PowerPoint as a group is completely up to you guys in your group to negotiate that and collaborate on that. In my perspective, as long as you're meeting all the success criteria that OECTA has put up onto this course, the way you want to deliver the presentation is completely up to you and your group. So first I want to say that. However, if you want to use these bullet points as a way to frame the PowerPoint, I might look at, if I'm in a group of 4, because that's our smallest group, I might say, listen, I'm going to take on think creatively, explore and invest and explore and investigate. And I might create PowerPoints that speak to how we foster creative thinking in our classrooms. What are the materials, the centers, what am I doing with the environment to support creative thinking? What provocations am I putting out there to support creative thinking? So I might explain that and speak to that in a slide. I may have to break it up into 2 slides, and that's fine. And then explore and investigate. Well, in the kindergarten classroom or environment, how are we promoting exploration and investigation? Well, in our readings, we've done that through noticing and naming, through math, literacy, bringing the outdoors in, speaking to Indigenous perspectives, belonging and contributing. So what I might think of how exploration and investigation is fostered in the classroom, and what do I and my EC partner as educators do to promote that. Then I might say, or I might take on solve problems and engage in the inquiry process. Now I know there's problem solving down below, but if I look at solve problems and engage in the inquiry process, how am I supporting students to solve problems when they are faced with a struggle or a question or a wondering within an inquiry? What am I doing to support that? Is it listening? Is it questioning? That's for you guys to speak to. And then how am I promoting engagement in an inquiry process? And we have to remember an inquiry process doesn't necessarily mean with the inquiry that's taking place is a whole group inquiry. It could be a small group inquiry. So how am I supporting engagement in inquiry? Again, looking at materials, texts, provocations, things of that nature. I think this slide would then be really important and comes nicely off of engagement in the inquiry process and how problems were solved, is how are students in the kindergarten program sharing their learning with others. That might look different in each situation, but what are some common threads that we as educators are supporting our students in sharing their learning with our school community, parent community, or classroom community? So that would be something to look at. And then with your PLC group, identifying specific links between play and learning in your classrooms where it pertains to problem solving. So if we think of problem solving, not just problem solving in an inquiry, but how are we problem solving when we need to share something, when the tower is getting quite tall and we notice it's going to start to fall over. What are the other problem solving skills that we are encouraging or supporting within the classroom? And what does that look like? And what do we do as educators to engage students in becoming those problem solvers within play? And that's where you could share an example. And that's where within your group you might say, listen, I don't have a great example. I've taken on problem solving. Does anyone have a great example that can support that in play? And that's where you can ask your group and collaborate together and grab, you know what, I have a great example to support problem solving within play or with sharing or having too many things of milk out at the table or not enough milk for snack time that you can use to share and support what that can look like in kindergarten. Language acquisition and literacy, you might want to take on both of those together. How are we promoting conversation, making connections, oral language in the classroom? What are we providing within the environment to support literacy skills? What texts or centers are we bringing into the classroom to support literacy and language acquisition? So that would be one. Then looking at numeracy, again, what materials are we doing with numeracy? How are we using noticing and naming with both literacy, language acquisition, numeracy, and all of these really? How are we using noticing and naming to support numeracy within the classroom? Are we bringing in materials that we want students to play with, and those materials are going to hopefully lead to some math talk that will lead to numeracy? What does that look like? What are some examples of what we've seen in our own classrooms for that? And again, if you don't have one or you're not in the kindergarten classroom, someone in your group would have something to share with you with that. Then the social, physical, and emotional skills. How are we promoting students to get to a state of calm? How are we promoting an understanding and acceptance of students' emotions and what they're feeling? How are we helping students to label those emotions so that they have the vocabulary to share with us with how they're feeling? And then if you look at individual, then jointly with the PLC, identify and explain forms of play in your classroom with specific examples from your personal experience in the classroom. And I mean, here is something that with every slide you've decided to take on or every topic, you can speak to having an experience with that. What was an experience that you witnessed or were involved in with thinking creatively within the kindergarten classroom? And again, if you need to speak to your group because you don't have one or you want to hear some other ones to see if there's a stronger example, because to showcase to parents or other educators that have never participated or have engaged in the kindergarten curriculum and program before. What can you let them know about what this looks like in the kindergarten environment? And then finally, collaboratively work to develop this presentation and addressing these points above with your examples. I think your own personal examples are going to support how each of these bullet points are fulfilled within the kindergarten program. I really hope this has cleared some things up. Discuss with your group how you want to go about presenting it, whether it's through the 4 frames and you feel that this success criteria can be met, that's great. If it's through the way that I thought about it, which was looking at each of the points and breaking it up, that's great too. If you have a different way that you want to pose to your group of how you can present your PowerPoint while still meeting all of the success criteria, I'm okay with that. Be creative with this PowerPoint. And I apologize if on my part I set it out a certain way. When I read it over, that's how I saw it. That's how my brain saw it. and that's just one way. And if you guys have something else, the way you want to attack this presentation and get it completed, speak to your group with it. Please be involved in that discussion and check it regularly, because the last thing that we want is participants within your group hanging to wait to hear from you. So I would say that that's really important that you guys are communicating that way. I hope again that this has cleared things up. I think this is a really exciting PowerPoint. I think you're going to be able to use this to share with your parent community on what kindergarten is like. I think you're going to be able to share this with your colleagues so that they get a sense of where our learners are starting from and what the program looks like. I'm really excited to see what you're going to do here, and I think there is this PowerPoint is open to interpretation, but again, that it's open to interpretation, but that you're meeting that success criteria. Have a great evening. I didn't get any interruptions with the doorbell. I've started this video now 5 times because I did previously. I hope you're getting lots of trick-or-treaters, and if you have any children who are out trick-or-treating, I hope you're enjoying your time and soaking up all those fun experiences with your children. Have a great evening, and we'll talk again soon.